This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Today's video is brought to you by ShipStation. In just a minute, I'm going to talk about an offer exclusive to my audience. But before I do that, I want to talk about the remarkable thing that happened last night. No, not that the former White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, was voted in contempt of Congress by the House Select Committee. And not that that's going to be forwarded on to the full House for a vote. And then when it passes there, it'll be forwarded on to the Justice Department, who will bring the evidence before an impaneled grand jury to indict him on contempt of Congress charges. Not that. I want to talk about the remarkable text messages that Liz Cheney read, outing Fox News hosts as being complicit, enmeshed in Donald Trump's White House in an effort to preserve his legacy and his accomplishments and the views that people hold of him from the public. That's what I want to talk about. Now I'm going to play a video, about 2 minutes or so, of her reading some text messages. Because remember, before he refused to comply with the legally issued subpoena, Mark Meadows, he was not going to cooperate with the committee. Then he was. And during that period, before he ended up refusing again, he did some document production, turned over from his private cell phone and private email address documents, which I'm going to talk about in a subsequent video. I'm not going to get into it because that'll be for a separate video. But there was a remarkable moment where she read text messages from Laura Ingraham and Brian Kilmeade and Sean Hannity directly to Mark Meadows in the inner sanctum of the White House. The chief of staff, he has an office adjoining the Oval Office. They have that much access and control. Now, save your text messages or save your comments, save your phone calls. If your inherent response is, well, no, who are you shocked by this? Who's surprised by this? We already knew. We had our suspicions, but we didn't have the records. We didn't have the receipts. Now we have the receipts. And by virtue of that, by extension of that, they can no longer deny their thick as thieves relationship with Donald Trump. They can no longer deny that they were the state-run propaganda arm of the Donald Trump administration. I'm going to play that clip, but before I do, a word from today's sponsor, ShipStation. You know that the holidays are almost upon us, right? And you also know that if those packages don't get out the door ASAP, they're not going to make it in time, right? Before the holidays ship sails without you, get on board with ShipStation. ShipStation is the internet's #1 option if you sell products online. Thanks to their easy-to-use dashboard, you can quickly process, fulfill, and ship orders from all your marketplaces and shopping carts. And ShipStation allows you to compare the rates of all the major domestic and international carriers like FedEx, UPS, and DHL, so you can save big. You look like you know your ship. Go to ShipStation.com/Dollemore to try ShipStation free for 60 days. That's 2 whole months of hassle-free shipping to help you breeze through the holiday rush. Head to ShipStation.com/Dollemore to get your ship together. Your shipping solution can be made quicker, easier, and more convenient. Over 100,000 online sellers use ShipStation. Join them to access discounted shipping rates, typically afforded only to Fortune 500 companies. It's not surprising that 98% of businesses that use ShipStation for 1 year keep it. Brighten up and tighten up this holiday season with ShipStation. Sign up now at ShipStation.com/Dollemore, and you can try ShipStation for free for 60 days. That means easy, stress-free shipping all the way through the holidays. Head to ShipStation.com/Dollemore and make ship happen. Now, I'm going to play this clip. And again, I want to remind you that this is not surprising to me. I'm not shocked by this. But now we know. Now, Laura Ingraham cannot deny that even though that night or the night after on her show, she was blaming Antifa and Black Lives Matter for what took place, she was desperate to get a hold of Mark Meadows to try to influence Donald Trump, now ex-president, then current president, to call off the mob. And if he had nothing to do with it, had no control, they were all surprised, how would he have any power to call them off? And if they were Antifa or Black Lives Matter, how indeed would he have any power to call them off? They knew it was Trump supporters. They knew he had influence over them. Because if he sent him there, naturally you'd think he'd have some power to influence them to stop. Anyway, watch this remarkable couple of minutes from Liz Cheney, the ranking Republican on the committee, reading these text messages. And we'll talk about the different aspects on the other side.
One text Mr. Meadows received said, quote, "We are under siege here at the Capitol." Another, quote, "They have breached the Capitol." In a third, "Mark, protesters are literally storming the Capitol, breaking windows on doors, rushing in. Is Trump going to say something?" A fourth, "There's an armed standoff at the House chamber door." And another from someone inside the Capitol, "We are all helpless." Dozens of texts, including from Trump administration officials, urged immediate action by the president. Quote, "POTUS has to come out firmly and tell the protesters to dissipate. Someone is going to get killed." In another, "Mark, he needs to stop this now." A third, in all caps, "Tell them to go home." A fourth, and I quote, "POTUS needs to calm this shit down." Indeed, according to the records, multiple Fox News hosts knew the president needed to act immediately. They texted Mr. Meadows, and he has turned over those texts. Quote, "Mark, the president needs to tell people in the Capitol to go home. This is hurting all of us. He is destroying his legacy," Laura Ingraham wrote. "Please get him on TV, destroying everything you have accomplished," Brian Kilmeade texted. Quote, "Can he make a statement? Ask people to leave the Capitol," Sean Hannity urged. As the violence continued, one of the president's sons texted Mr. Meadows, quote, "He's got to condemn this shit ASAP. The Capitol Police tweet is not enough," Donald Trump Jr. texted.
First, I want you to realize this, recognize this. Pay attention to the fact that those first set of text messages she read, I believe are from members of Congress. They're not given their names. I don't know why. Maybe it's some rule that you don't out another member, or I don't know. But it is alarming that that many people within the Capitol were crying out for help, describing note for note what was taking place. They're smashing windows. They've infiltrated the Capitol. There was fear, palpable concern about what exactly was taking place because it was an absolutely unprecedented event. Not since the War of 1812, when the Capitol burned in 1814, have we had someone attack our democracy like that. And apparently, it's only Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger from the Republican Party who either recognize it or recognize it for what it is. Now, as far as the other stuff, it is laughable because it's so tragic that Laura Ingraham, beady-eyed Brian Kilmeade, and pumpkin-headed Sean Hannity are calling, are texting, are frantic about the legacy. It's going to destroy everything he's worked for. Not that it's going to destroy democracy. Not that their side was attempting to overturn a free and fair election. Not that this was an attempted coup, an insurrection at the United States Capitol, but that your accomplishments aren't going to be recognized anymore. This is all you're going to be remembered for. One, they were right. And two, they're missing the mark, as always. But it shows how entrenched both of these sides are. Listen, let's put it another way. If something like this took place, and it was at the hands of Democrats, and text messages were revealed that Anderson Cooper and Rachel Maddow were somehow in there from a messaging standpoint, tell him to stop him. His legacy is for a Joe Biden or a Barack Obama. What would the other side be saying? If you're a Republican out there and you're hate watching this, or maybe you're Dem curious, what would you say if Anderson Cooper, Chris Hayes, one of these liberal journalists, mainstream media, if they had that much access, and not from a reporting standpoint, but from an influence standpoint, you would be outraged. But because it's the Three Musketeers of Stupidity, Laura Ingraham, beady-eyed Brian Kilmeade, and the Zeppelin-headed Sean Hannity, and look, that's coming from somebody with a giant pumpkin head. We recognize our own. Because it's them, it's crickets from the other side. This is alarming. This is disgusting. And now it cannot be denied. It cannot be denied. Anyway, listening to this last night, I was beside myself. I don't think that's ever a turn of phrase I've used, but it was a shocking thing that this was public now. Undeniable. Love to know what you think. You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Thank you for joining me from inside what looks like a self-storage locker. I'm moving to D.C. If you haven't noticed, I did a video about it. Wanting to get everybody prepared for in a couple weeks when I have a couple of substitute hosts, Democratic activists, and the Banks sisters. Those are two channels that you should check out. Be prepared for their commentary. Anyway, follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore just about everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And if I bring you value, only if I do something for you that is worthy of your time and attention, please consider supporting my work. You can do so via the channel membership option here on YouTube. You can click the join button below, become a YouTube channel member for as little as $1.99 a month. You could do that, or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. Both those ways are fantastic relative to supporting and helping produce my work. This operation is going to be growing exponentially over the next year when I move to DC, and you can be a part of it. Anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. I'll see you next time. Until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.